It's like trying to win a car race.
Should be a good one.
And as you're driving, saying, hey, make it run better.
You could have a posse of waifus.
Starting off kind of strangely.
Slaying the land.
Welcome to the show.
This is insanity.
Taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week.
This info is pretty shocking.
Somebody's got to give an answer to this.
This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
You know, I'm reminded of the joke where, or maybe it was a comic or something. I don't know where I saw it, but basically you've got the man who's clearly become a little complacent in his relationship. He's laying in bed with his wife, and then he's like, was it good for you too? And she says, oh, I didn't realize we had started yet. So that's how I feel about E3 this year. That is really how I'm feeling about E3 this year. It was so lackluster that I feel like it hasn't even happened. So let me know what you think. That's my take on it. There were a few cool things, but it didn't feel like any kind of a special month out of the year in terms of gaming announcements, stuff like that to me. But we want to know what you think. Drop your opinions in the live chat. We're gonna talk about E3 today. We're gonna talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. For a little bit, mostly we're going to talk Starfield because we got Starfield info, and we are, of course, very interested in what's going on with Starfield. Also have some concerns, and we'll get into all that as well. So welcome, everybody. Moon, Cyb, how are you?
I'm
Good.
Been a long week.
It has. It's been a long week, long weekend. By the way, this is the Augmented Reality Podcast, your source for news, leaks, and analysis of games in the gaming industry, coming at you live on YouTube and Twitch and archived almost anywhere you can find podcasts. My name is Ash. I'm here with Cyb and Moon, as I just introduced. And if you are listening live, please do say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. And, of course, slam that like button. Or click it gently, whatever you like. But the like button likes some attention. So, Sword Sister asks in the chat, oh, speaking of which, did anything interesting happen after the Xbox Bethesda show?
Well, I think that statement requires that there be something interesting that happened at the Xbox Microsoft show.
Well,
which the answer to that is no, not really.
No, but
I'm
it's
kind
still
of annoyed
possible.
by it.
It's still possible that something interesting happened after the Xbox Bethesda show, but the answer's still no. Now, we're being a little facetious. There were some decent things. We'll get into it, but overall, very lackluster. Funky says E3 felt like a very long ad, and mostly for Microsoft, it was an ad for Game Pass. Yes, absolutely, it was. Well, yeah, they really pushed Game Pass. And for other publishers, it was for their shareholders. Yes, 100%. And some of them were just terrible. The Koch Media one was absolutely terrible. They didn't show us anything. I think there's maybe one or two games they actually showed a trailer or gameplay for. And most of it was basically a Zoom call between the host and somebody working on one of their games they're going to be putting out. But they were just sitting talking about it, talking about their vision for it, talking about what it's going to be, talking about how great it's going to be when they can actually release it. Who knows when? It was awful. I mean, there was no... It did, in a lot of cases, feel like talks given for shareholders. They felt like board meetings or just, company meetings in a corporate office. So a lot of them were really bad. But there were some decent shows as well. Devolver put on a good show, as they typically do. It was very high production value and very funny. But even Devolver didn't really show very many games, which was disappointing. They did have one game that I was particularly interested in called Phantom Abyss, but other than that, it felt like they only showed half a dozen games, which was disappointing. Now, the PC Gaming Show and the Future Games Show were both decent. PC Gaming Show, it had the regular crew, plus they brought on board that girl who used to work for Rooster Teeth, and I can't remember her name now. But yeah, so they put on a pretty good show. there were some interesting games, but overall, very lackluster event. Even Nintendo didn't really have a lot to show. They did announce a new Metroid, not Metroid Prime, but basically Metroid, the original series, like the original Metroid 1, 2, 3, 4. They've announced Metroid 5 now. Metroid, oh shoot, what's it called?
It's Dread.
Metroid
Dread.
Metroid Dread.
And I mean, this is basically, I mean, it's a side scroller. It's a and side scrollers could be great, but and I don't know if the community feels like they're happy with this or not. I do wonder if they're, some people are a little annoyed by, like, oh, so you just took it back to, like, basically nothing, right? Well, not nothing, but like, like
Well,
like, it's
we were
not
expecting
AAA.
another Metroid Prime, right? And that is still being worked on.
Yeah, I
But
think so. So I mean, for me, I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, that's a little disappointing. But at the same time, it is taking it back to its roots, and it does look a little interesting. So, I mean, I'm not very upset at it. I don't really know what to think. So you guys are gonna have to tell me what to.
I'm definitely interested in the new Metroid. It is like the Metroid franchise forked off into sort of multiple threads. Like you have the 2D Metroids and the 3D Metroids. So this is the next installment in the 2D Metroid series. And interestingly, this game was initially reported that this game was being worked on all the way back in 2005, Metroid Dread. And now it is, clearly, so that didn't happen, and they took it back to the drawing board. Now, apparently, it's coming out and being released, and it comes out in October. I was like, yes, thank you for finally giving us some games that are coming out this year. Thank you, Nintendo. I was like, that made me excited enough to really actually be interested in it. Metroid Dread is a weird name. I actually double checked that's what it's called because it just sounds so weird. But anyway,
It sounds weird.
Yeah. So I mean, Nintendo didn't really have anything bad in their show, and I love watching Nintendo shows because I don't know, just something about Japanese culture and the way they present things, and the way they bow, when they're thanking you for making their games and their console a success. Just something about that I love so much. So I love watching Nintendo's shows. Nothing particular grabbed me. Actually, Mario Golf, new Mario.
Well, I mean, didn't they announce the follow up to the?
Oh, Zelda.
Breath
of the Wild. Yeah,
because they didn't. Did they name the game? Because that's the one thing that I was confused on. Is like, did they just announce the sequel, or did they announce like what the name of the actual game is called? Because right now, all I know is that it's Breath of the Wild 2-ish. And by ish, I mean, I don't know if that's its actual like name or not. So that's what I was.
Well, I don't know.
On.
All we know right now is that it's a Breath of the Wild sequel.
Yeah.
No, they don't. I don't think they have an official name for it yet, and they're probably not.
Because I was really confused by that. I'm like, this is what they're going with as far as the naming convention. I'm a little confused.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a numbered Zelda since Zelda 2, which was kind of an oddball in the series anyway. Even though it is a really good game, but Zelda 2 back on the NES. Other than that, I don't think there's been like a direct. I mean, they're all sequels and prequels and whatever. There's a convoluted timeline and multiple timelines, but like they haven't been like, oh, Ocarina of Time 2 or anything like that. Like each one has a unique name, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think that's pretty much the case. So I doubt they're going to call it Breath of the Wild 2. They're probably going to call it The Legend of Zelda, and then give it some name.
Some name, right? Exactly.
But they probably haven't finalized that yet, so they don't want to put that out there. But anyway, I mean, Breath of the Wild 2, from what it looks very, very similar. I'm sure it's going to be great, but it was hard to get hyped for it because it's still, it's a ways away, probably 2 years at least. So it was hard to get hyped for that. I was hoping to see a new 3D Mario, maybe a sequel to Mario Odyssey, one of my favorite games of all time. Would love to have more, something else in that vein. And if they could add and innovate on it even more than they already did, that would be fantastic. But, it was what it was. Kind of echoed the... And yes, it did get teased a couple of years ago, Sauce Master. That is true. So anyway, very... overall, even the Nintendo event kind of reflected the whole... I put on the thumbnail today that E3 cured my insomnia, because I was literally falling asleep at a few points watching it.
Me too. Like that, I was generally very sad. I understand the stuff, but honestly, if all we had was, hey guys, you're gonna get some great games sometime after next year's E3, I would have been like, then don't have an E3. Like, don't come to the show if you have literally nothing to show. If you have literally nothing to show and you're showing something and it's not worth it, you're wasting time. You're wasting a week in preparation for the show when you could be working on something. Please work on the thing. Don't show something, and this is why I'm really annoyed at Starfield. Because, like, they've said so many times before that they don't want to talk about it until they're ready. Now, they're not talking about gameplay. They're talking about the concepts of the game, which, I mean, I guess is okay. But at the same time, it's like, excuse me, if you don't have anything to show, why are you talking about something? Like seriously, if you have nothing to show, then like actually show us, because what you showed us wasn't... I mean, they've come out with some stuff that we're going to cover, so it's I understand where they're coming from, and I kind of talked about this, where if they want to start advertising for it, and when they are, because I've gotten like 5 or 6 Starfield trailers on my bloody YouTube videos today, and it's like, why are they just like, why are they throwing this at me? Like, really? It's a year away and you can't even pre-order it. But I explained this before. It's an unknown world. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea what's there. So are you like, is this something that you actually like are going to play unless you know something about it? So they have a long way to go in encouraging you to actually get out there and try the game, right? So
that is true, although it doesn't seem so far out there that people wouldn't click with it. Like, people are fairly familiar with the hundreds of years from now humanity expands into space concept. So I wish they hadn't revealed it so early. But before we dive too deep into that, let's just wrap up about E3. What were the highlights for you guys, if you can think of any, outside of the Xbox Bethesda conference? Was there anything?
So I mean, Max asked me to compile my list of like things that I was excited for, and I realized that most of everything that I was excited for doesn't actually have anything to do with E3 directly. Like here's my list. I'm going to expand more on it on Max's show tomorrow, but I put this list together. It's like, number 1, Starfield, reservedly, with big quotes around it. I am reservedly excited about Starfield, which we will get into. Number 2 is like reduction of live services. I don't remember seeing hey guys, this is a live service, and this is the live service that you've been wanting to play for the past, your entire lifetime. It's going to be so great. We've got superheroes, we've got super guns, we've got everything. It's going to be great. There was none of that this year, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was so happy that there wasn't one like, hey guys, there's a whole bunch of microtransactions here for you. It's like, okay, good. I can live with this. At this moment, I can actually live with this. I'm actually this is great. The third thing that it made me that brought the biggest smile to my face whilst watching it was the Outer Worlds 2 trailer. So that's kind of cool.
The Outer Worlds 2. And a couple of people are mentioning that in the chat as well, and how it was very self-aware and kind of took a dump on other trailers of it. Like there was a lot of self-mockery in it about how
I
it was.
I need to make this clear.
Yeah.
I need to make this clear. I am not excited for the game. I was excited about the trailer, not the game. As far as I know, I'm still not going to be able to play the next game unless they bring in third-person cameras and stuff and do something about that god-awful field of view, because it is so bad. I cannot do even watching your playthrough, it makes me sick almost instantly. Almost instantly I get queasy, I start getting dizzy, and I've got to close my eyes and look away. It's so bad in that game, and I don't know why, because there's other games that aren't nearly as bad.
Yeah.
But for some odd reason, that one is just it is horrendous, and I really hope they add that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just 3. I won't spoil the rest of them, but because there's not actually that much more to it. It's just that, and that's kind of what I was like. I have a thing that I peruse. I have a list of like indie games that get sent to me like every once in a while, and I had more excitement about that in the last few weeks than I have had about any of the stuff that we saw at E3. So
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's where I'm at.
I am glad that they're making an Outer Worlds 2. I really enjoyed Outer Worlds 1. I didn't get to play it nearly as much as I wanted to, but yeah, it's one that I'm hoping to return to someday. But I'm glad. I really liked the world. I wish they weren't announcing Outer Worlds 2 again this early, because I mean, and it starts to feel like they were just filling it with stuff now, because as they pointed out in the trailer, there was a scene where they said, and now you see the hero approaching, looking over the landscape, but just their silhouette, because we haven't established their name or what they look like or anything about them yet. It's like, okay, yes, it's funny. It's a joke. You're being self-aware. You're kind of mocking it. I get it. But it's also 100% true. And so I was like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's funny, but also not funny at the same time, because it was just, it hit really close to home. It was like, it was really true. It was kind of like, yeah, but you're not just mocking other trailers. This trailer is literally mocking itself. And it made it less funny, because it's like, yeah, this game is who knows how many years away, and probably just in the the beginning stages. And granted, they probably had a lot of stuff planned for Outer Worlds that they wanted to do for Outer Worlds 1 that they weren't able to do, and they will be able to do now. They have Microsoft money behind them.
I don't know if it's years away. I really don't know if it is years and years away. It might be that it's only 2 to 3 years away. Like,
well, that's
by years and years, I mean like 4. Well, I meant 4.
Still technically years.
4 or 5.
No,
right?
when I say years, I mean like 2 to 3. It's probably at least 2 years.
Well,
away.
I mean that's because I mean Elder Scrolls is at least. I mean, we're most likely not going to play that game until like 2025 at the absolute earliest, which again is like way too early. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 2017 at the very least.
27,
possibly 2018. So
28?
sorry, 2028.
yeah,
2028.
I know what you mean.
This is it's so far away. It's so far away that I'm literally like
You're wrapping
I've done
ahead.
a whole nother 100 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, by the way, Sauce Master, no, it's not it's not RIP Metroid Prime. They are still working on the new Metroid Prime. So they announced this new Metroid game that's not replacing the Metroid Prime game. It's in a different stream of the franchise. Okay, Moon, how about you?
I kind of like regardless of like the release dates, if I just look at like the kind of direction they're aiming for, I do enjoy, like I've said, the direction away from the live service just shooty looty stuff. But like they seem to be trying to dip their toes more into like story and character development. And like granted, you still saw like some graphics oriented things, but really like it was a lot of the indie stuff that really caught my attention, honestly, because it's like totally hits all my buttons. First, like I want something like that's got some strategy, that's got some story, it's got interesting characters or like things to do, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, like I just like I could play those shooter games. Like I do enjoy taking aim and hitting targets. But if that's all there is to the game and just collecting essentially junk, like it's basically making me into like a little weapons hoarder. And I'm just like, what if I just like, have this garden that can also make food, that can also get me points to, interact with other characters. Yeah, I like this. That kind of things. Like I would like something a little bit more involved, a little bit more complex, but like not too complex that like you get totally lost. It's kind of like, striking that balance where you make something that's like familiar enough for people to get it, but like different enough to set you apart and bring people back.
All right, yeah. Was there any games in particular that stand out for you?
I cannot remember their names right now, but I can remember looking at beautiful sceneries and cute characters, and basically, like, if you saw me this past weekend, just kind of like squealing during pretty much the whole Wholesome Games event.
Oh yeah, I've got to go
Wholesome
back.
Games event was really great.
I've got to go check that one out. I that's one of the ones that I didn't have the chance to watch.
Yeah, there's like almost like 80 games or something they showcase there, like 77 or something like that. And like they went through and showed like, these little clips and whatnot. Like they did dive like a little bit deeper into some games, but then they just had like, a bunch of reels that they just shut off stuff and you're like, oh, you get to see like actual gameplay. Wow, what a concept. And then I was just like, oh, making notes of these and like trying to like type them in. Like I have to go back and like watch again to make sure I tag all the ones that I want to keep an eye on, because like there's a lot of really cute ones.
Okay, yeah. Polly's, I agree. Stalker 2 was one of the more interesting ones. Of course, again, it's another title that's not coming till 2022, and that just got really tiresome. It's like, oh, another game. This looks cool. Oh, 2022. Oh, another. Oh, this looks. 2022. Very
and
little.
Again, I swear most of those things that we're seeing 2022 is going to be after this time next year. Like we're going to be getting the trailers like get this in holiday 2022, because I feel that's kind of where we're at right now, and it sucks.
Yeah. Well, and I'm getting fatigued with that, with getting hyped for stuff. We'll talk about this more in just a sec. But the games that I wishlisted a grand total of 3 games from this event. One was Phantom Abyss, which just, first of all, it's coming this month, which early access this month. But I'm interested in getting into the early access of this because I love the concept. It looks really cool. Basically, first-person runner, you going through procedurally generated dungeons, but you're racing against the ghosts of other players who have played the dungeon. And so it's asynchronous multiplayer, which is just, you know what? I mean, it's like, so I can compete against human intelligence without actually having to interact with people. This is like an introvert's dream, okay? Asynchronous multiplayer. I love asynchronous multiplayer so much. But anyway, so it's just such an interesting concept. It's the kind of game I love. And so I'm going to check it out and maybe be involved in, giving some feedback on the early access. There was a game called Silt that just looks so surreal and bizarre that It's like it's an underwater like swimming side scroller, and it looks like you can mind control fish and sea creatures and things to solve puzzles, and it's a very, very surreal black and white thing. Also a Tale of Paper, and
Oh yes.
that one has a demo out right now that I'm looking forward to trying. But that's it. That's all I was interested in checking out. All indie games. Not that I'm not looking forward to some of the other ones, but I was like, they're coming in 2022. We know barely anything about them yet. There's plenty of games coming this year that I'm excited for that we didn't see. The Microsoft event, the Microsoft Xbox event, they didn't even show their 2 games that are coming this year because those ones are console exclusives on Sony, of all things. Because of this weird... So Sony had gotten the console exclusivity deals from Bethesda before Bethesda was purchased by Microsoft for Ghostwire Tokyo and for Deathloop. So, of course, Microsoft, now they own Bethesda. They actually own those 2 games, but they didn't show anything. They didn't show them at all. Those are both coming this year. And they didn't show them at all because, of course, they are console exclusives for their competitors. So that already sucked a lot of life out of the Xbox Bethesda show. And then, let's get into that. Let's get into Starfield. Oh, I will say Halo Infinite was one of the highlights. Talking about the Xbox show. I didn't see what I was hoping to see, but they did. They chose to focus on the multiplayer, which was really good. It looks really good. Let's put it that way. It just looks really good. I wanted to see more about the open world and the single player version of it, but they do have this full-fledged multiplayer thing, which is free to play, launching alongside, of course, the single player campaign or like the single player adventure game. So it looks good. I mean, would you agree? Did Halo look good to you guys? Definitely a step up from what we saw back at the
last year. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and Halo is one of those games where I can actually do Halo first person usually quite often. And again, it's like I have no idea why. Like, other than I'm weird. But I think I can guess. I could probably take a wild guess and say that they really, really make it smooth and seamless. And it's one of the big selling points with that game is that it is smooth and seamless. So, yeah, probably that stuff, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, just scanning some of the chat messages here. Funky says we don't know that it will be a simultaneous launch. I thought they said it was launching at the same time.
I mean,
I could be wrong.
Right now, I would say just wait and see. Like obviously, like there are things that can change with that very quickly, no doubt.
Yeah, the Vampire Hunter game that the Prey developers are working on. Yeah, I mean, it looked kind of interesting. I'm curious about it. I want to know more about it. But again, I saw 2022, and I'm like, well, there's like 12 games I'm gonna play before then. Like, plus and this is what bugs me about how they're approaching Starfield now. And I guess we'll just get into this now. And that's why I wrote, on the thumbnail today. I don't like how they're going about this. I don't like that they showed it so early. That's not releasing till the end of 2022. November 11th, 2022 is the release date. 11/11/22, easy to remember date. But damn it, I mean, I am so sick of hype fatigue. And going on for years and years. I do not want to relive Cyberpunk 2077. I just don't. I've had it. I'm done with that. It was kind of a fun ride, but no. It wasn't, the disappointment with that game wasn't worth it. I mean, here we are 6 months later,
really
not even
bad.
playing it anymore. It's disappointing. Now, Starfield does look like a good game to me, but that they're showing it and it looks like they are planning regular info drops on it, and I'll show you right now what makes me think that. So they have this page set up on their website. It's on your screen right now on Bethesda's website, where they're releasing articles and videos. Okay, that's all fine, but if you join Constellation, you can be among the first to receive news and updates on everything Starfield. There's a video that they put out, not the teaser trailer, but Into the Starfield, The Journey Begins, if you can read that title there, where in this video, Todd Howard talks about how they're going to be, as they go along over the next 17 months, is it 17 months that until this game releases, that they're going to be releasing, or they're going to be telling us all about the inspiration and stuff about the game. And so I'm just getting flashbacks to Night City Wires and all of this overhyping that happened with Cyberpunk, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't know that it'll be the same thing, but I don't like it. I would rather they hadn't shown anything and that they weren't doing all of this. I mean, what happened to, both Todd and Phil Spencer?
They said they didn't agree in showing off gameplay, and they didn't show off gameplay. They showed off a cinematic cut, which is not gameplay, and they didn't necessarily claim that it was a game. I don't believe they claimed it was gameplay. I haven't heard anybody. I haven't heard an official Bethesda source say that. There's been lots of idiot journalists and screeny people who are like, "Oh yeah, this is the first gameplay." But it's not gameplay.
Yeah,
it's not gameplay. There's no gameplay in here. The only gameplay that's actually in this thing that actually happens every single time is the stairs up to the second level. But that's a cell transfer. No, they did not actually add ladders into the creation engine. Somehow they still don't have that. I don't know how or why, but they don't actually have that. So
I'm not even sure. You'll have to point out what you're referring to. But
when he enters the ship, or she, because I still can't figure out whether the main character is I still I get a little bit of you see a little bit of their face, but it's not enough to really figure out well, who is that? Is that one of the main characters? Is that the who is that? I can't even tell. I can't even tell if it's a guy or a girl. So, or anything in between. But the scene where they walk in and then they climb up the ladder, that ladder thing is that's the transition from the planet cell to the ship cell, and then you travel you travel around in the spaceship from that cell.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Am I explaining this right? Or
I think so. Yeah. I got it now. I got it now. When you said cell, I thought you meant something different. But anyway, it does say here alpha in-game footage. Now that doesn't mean gameplay, but is apparently in-game, in-engine creation engine 2. Their updated creation engine. And what we saw looks good. But now we've got Todd Howard going all over the place, giving interviews and talking about the game now, and what it says.
He's not going all over. He's still very, very
I'm being, I'm exaggerating for effect,
because and again, he's being extremely tight-lipped on everything. He's talking about, again, he's trying to sell the idea of the game. He's not trying to sell the game. He's trying to sell you the idea of the game.
Right. Well, I mean, he's dropping lots of info. There's now a whole bunch of concept art that was released as part of this Into the Starfield video, but and we'll look at some of it. But yeah, there's lots of info coming out now, and again, 17 months away, and it all sounds really good, and it all looks really good. But that's how we felt about Cyberpunk. And I don't know about you, but I do not want to do that again. I do not want to do that again. I am looking forward to this game. I definitely, I'm definitely interested in it, but I wish I'm a little concerned. I'm worried they're going down that road, and this might be Microsoft's influence on them. That we've got to build hype for this.
I don't think so, because if they were wanting to I don't think so, and I'm just as annoyed with them announcing this right now, because I would prefer them to have pulled a hey guys, it's out thing. But
Yeah.
they're clearly wanting to try and sell this out to people, which may mean like some early accesses for certain content creators. It might mean some early peeking at what's going on. Again, yes, that is the same. You might say, yes, that's the same thing as Cyberpunk, but that's also the same thing as literally pretty much like 80% of the games that are also sold. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have a heart attack when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
That
probably not.
I mean, that
probably not an accurate description.
It's just if they start holding like Night City Wire like events.
No, I don't think they will, because it's not their forte. They clearly want to get people talking about it. They clearly want to get people interested in expanding on it, getting, diving into it, that kind of stuff. Like this is obviously where they're going. This is obviously where they want to go.
Yeah.
And again, they need to do that because they have to sell this world to you, because if they can't sell you this world, then that's it.
All right. In any case, what do we know so far? Well, apparently Starfield takes place 300-ish years from now. It features the last space explorers and explores profound questions. And so Bethesda's director Todd Howard gave some interviews to the Washington Post and the Telegraph. So he says the game is set 300-ish years in the future. The team has taken pains to map out what happens every decade between now and then in their timeline. So
that's interesting.
Well, I would honestly expect nothing less from them. They are into the deep world building. So that's I'm glad they're going that deep with it. He says we start with the world and questions like, what do they eat? What do they write with? How do they order their books? And we want to know what all the buttons do on the complicated control panel shown in the trailer. So there's reasoning behind everything, right? Mm-hmm. So even if we don't push any of those buttons during gameplay, someone has thought about how it's all laid out, which is cool. I mean, it is really cool. So let's see what else. Apparently, there's going to be some heady themes from the game beyond simple exploration and/or conquest. When you look up in the sky, there's this drive to know what is out there. Are we alone? What are the origins of space and time and all of those things? What role does religion play in some of that as well? So we do get into some big questions. I think a game like this is a good place to do that. That sounds really awesome to me. I love games that deal with those themes and deal with them in a well-rounded way, rather than just a very flat surface way that shows they didn't actually do any thinking about it. So that's really good. So, yeah, sounds fantastic. It really does sound fantastic. I'm keeping a cap on the hype because, again, don't want to go through that again. So, we'll go through the trailer and some of the concept art in just a sec. Cyb has several things he wants to point to. But there was something interesting in the Starfield trailer. Some people are thinking that there was a little Easter egg that might be hinting at some info about the Elder Scrolls 6. There is this scratch in the side of the console during one of the shots of the cockpit in the Starfield trailer. And people took a look at the Elder Scrolls map, like the map of Tamriel, and you look at the shape of this this randomish scratch in the side, it does kind of look like an island or a piece of land, and it kind of matches up with the shape of, the west side of Tamriel here. Possibly Hammerfell or High Rock or something. Now, you see the overlay on the screen right now if you're looking, like, you could do the side-by-side thing. It does not match up exactly, and I'm not even certain which parts they think match up with which. So this could just be complete garbage. Maybe it's just a random scratch on the thing. But
No, I mean, well, there's nothing random. This is Bethesda.
True, very true. So, anyway, that's that basically. There's really not much more to say about that. I mean, didn't we hypothesize like 2 years ago that it was taking place in Hammerfell?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of thought into that. Even there's been a lot of like stuff going around about where it's located, and I mean, there's lots of good theories. I don't know if any of them are correct, but
yeah. So anyway. All right, so Saib, you wanted to go through some of the images that we do have and point out a few things. So where would you like to start?
Well, I mean, the first thing I want to start is what Todd Howard has also been saying this week, and that is that one of their primary goals that they have right now is bringing back in a lot of the harder, more complex RPG mechanics that have been in some of their older games. And when you played, you go back 3 iterations of Elder Scrolls, and it was a very hard, very complex, very deep role-playing game. Skyrim is not really that. I mean, not without mods. And even then, I mean, you're the growth of your character, the min-maxing of abilities to kind of like, create your own character or create your character in the world is extremely, I mean, limited is I don't know, it's like to say it's limited is in comparison is quite, like, that's quite the understatement. It is ridiculously limited. You just don't have the same oomph with your character and creation and all that kind of stuff that you have with other games. So, yeah, not quite the same thing, not quite that same direction. But apparently they're stepping back towards that. And this is one of the things that I'm worried about. I am worried about this because he's mentioning this now. And are we going to see this, come out now, or is it going to be coming out and is it going to be a travesty? I don't know. Well, this time will tell with this.
I mean, there's just, again, I guess I'm having some of those negative flashbacks again, because what was another game recently that was promising to be a deep RPG that just kind of crapped the bed on that?
Well, I mean, at this point, really at this point, I mean, they don't really have, like, they have to make this, like, work.
Yes, so. I think, and I mean, granted, there are a lot of different. I doubt they're going to be rebooting this in 3 months and bringing in Keanu Reeves and totally changing it up in that kind of a way. Like, I don't think they're going to approach it that way. Again,
no, they've been making, and part of these plans, and one of the reasons why I think they're doing this is that this game has been in the works for 25 years, and 25 years ago they were making really deep RPGs. So I think what they did is they've warmed most everybody up with Skyrim and Fallout. And now we're going to see whether or not that's going to stick around or not. So, yeah. And again, like I said, very interesting. I don't know, 100%. I'm not calling this one way or the other. because I think it's so far away and there's so much going on and there's so much that we don't know about that I really can't guarantee that we're going to have something that's, one way or the other. Not yet. Not for probably for quite a while, I think.
Right. All right.
So for the love of God, don't pre-order this game.
For sure.
Well, I mean, unless you think this pre-ordering is worth it because they're selling a watch.
Okay. What was
like
this?
They're selling a watch.
There's already a collector's edition available?
No, they showed off what I believe is going to be the collector's edition. And I hope if they do not fix this pre-order system where, a million bots pre-order, every possible copy of the thing instantaneously, and you're just kind of like, you're just out of luck. Like if you want to get the collector's edition, you're just kind of like, well, too bad for you. You should have gone with the Russian bot. Ha ha ha. See what I did there with it? Yeah. Anyways, this is for the most part something that we have to consider. I really don't like the thought of this thing coming out, this cool collector's edition. It's cool, it's awesome, it's great, and you can't get your hands on it because somebody has made it like absolutely impossible to get your hands on it. So is it that? I don't know. I hope they fix it, and if they don't fix it, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be very mad. Now, and again, I don't know if I'm going to order the thing. It's like, oh, it's a watch. It's a working watch, and that case is kind of cool. Well, I guess it depends on some stuff because I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I do have more faith in this game coming out and being way, 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 way better. I really do. But yeah, we're gonna obviously we gotta see. So
okay. All right. So what else did you want to talk about as far as info we can glean from the images we've seen, etc.?
We might as well go with the screenshots first because the screenshots are really they're where we're going to get most of the data from. So.
Okay. So this is first one, which you called Starfield main characters. Likely these are the main characters, yeah. I'll see some detailed art of the faces, etc. And a robot of some kind in the bottom right. Looks like it's...
Yeah, this is their cover for the thing.
Mm-hmm. I see some Fallout influence with that robot there. You can definitely see just hints of it. Hints. Yeah.
I have
the claw arm, the single eye. You don't see any similarities.
I
matter.
see zero resemblance whatsoever.
I mean,
the whole robot, not a smorgasbord rot.
Now, the first thing I want to say is perhaps we have the first robot companion. Well, actually, I guess it's the second robot companion in, Bethesda-owned IP. The first one was Fisto, I think, from New Vegas. But yeah, so this maybe a romantic companion because just the way that they look at each other and yeah. I'm thinking robot companion. Mm-hmm.
Wait, which character are we talking about?
The robot.
The robot. Why is the robot's looking off? He's looking at the camera.
No, not in this. In the stuff that we were watching, obviously, the video stuff. I have no proof of this, but there is a picture. There's a couple of pictures of him in the ship. Of the robot standing on a beach waving, and so I mean, if you're taking your robot pal to the to all these wonderful locales and taking pictures of them, they're not selfies. It's you're clearly hey robot, stand there. I'm going to take a picture of you. Obviously the main character likes the robot. Maybe there's some love going on there. I'm just saying. I might be crazy. Actually, I probably am. But yeah, that's my first wild.
I think you've got a good start on your fanfic.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, yeah. So
All right, so what do we got here? This is, you've titled this one Starfield Megatropolis. So yes, big city.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
big city in the distance. We don't know if you get more than one ship. The ship looks like a fighter, so it'll be interesting. Do I think they're going to have dogfights in space? I really doubt it. I mean, they would have had to pull some absolutely next gen stuff with this engine. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I really don't. I really don't believe it. I really don't believe it.
maybe. I mean, if there are fights in space, maybe it's more tactical rather than like an X-wing style game where you're just blasting. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, the city. I mean, it does look really cool.
Yeah. So I mean, big, huge city, and I don't know. Should we talk? No, we'll save my theories to the end. So okay, yeah, that's just it's just a fancy world. Looks cool, interesting. Yeah.
So here's some sort of very
Sulfur pits.
yeah, it looks some sort
That's
of
what it looks like to me.
desolate planet or asteroid or something. Some creatures
Well,
living on here.
this is proof that we've got monsters or
Mhm.
aliens or whatever you want to call this.
Some kind of creatures.
We're going to be fighting a lot of scary looking things that are going to be trying to eat our face. Hello, human being. You have lovely face. Let me nom 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 it. So yeah, we're clearly going to have a lot of that.
All right, this thing looks really really neat.
Ooh.
Some sort of
Pretty.
a station or town built on the ocean.
Yep. I mean, this
It's
is a pretty
pretty.
well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a small city, but it's like, it's obviously a fairly contained city.
Well, you compare it to
So-
the size of the boats. It's not huge. It's not huge.
Kind of looks like a party stadium hub, entertainment hub or something.
Some rich guy's house. That's what it is.
Yeah, some guy's house.
Yeah, so I mean, these locales better look as good as because again, if I show up in the main city of Whiterun and I can see 15 NPCs tops, and there's like 10 houses there, I'm gonna be slightly annoyed. I mean, not a lot, but extremely.
Games
Yes.
have come a long way in
I hope so.
10 years
I hope
since Skyrim came out. I mean, of course, you remember when Skyrim first came out, and it was like, whoa,
Yeah,
this is
no,
massive.
No, that was yeah, it was huge. But they've had some really cool, really advanced stuff before, and again, I really hope that it's good. I really hope that it's good. I really do.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. I mean, especially if they're going to start hyping it this early. This looks like, this just looks like Star Wars here. But
this is where I think most of our time is going to be spent, is in these like explorer outer rim planets with very small shantily built towns. And yeah, and again, I have a theory about why the universe is like this, so I'll get back to that once we swim around.
Okay. Nice sort of planetary shot. So, looks really cool. Not a ton we can glean from this, I don't think so, but some kind of a jungle biome, some kind of a jungle environment.
I would like to explore this.
Mm-hmm. So, that's some of the screenshots that people have pulled from this into the Starfield video that has, a lot more images you can see here. Some of them are just like shots of the moon, like I don't know, or a moon. Looks like our moon. Some behind the scenes stuff, some models. There's that picture we were just looking at. People wearing masks and playing violins. Motion capture. Blah, blah, blah. And then, join up with our constellation program and get the latest news as it happens. But, I mean, so what more do we want to say about this? We've kind of ripped it for announcing it this early, and I really do think that was a mistake. At the same time, I get that, honestly, if they hadn't talked about games that were coming out in 2022, almost all of these showcases would have been empty. Like, they'd have been 5 minutes. So, I get why they did it, but I do wish they... I do wish they had maybe waited on this one. Maybe waited till at least the end of this year. So we're only waiting a year for it.
Like I said, it really depends on how they're starting to ramp this stuff up, right?
Right.
I really think that that's gonna be the clincher. How are they ramping this up? In what way are they ramping this up? And then how are we gonna be, how are we getting our hands on this kind of stuff? So, yeah.
Darkness says, I had to go AFK. Did they say if the game will have an engine? A new engine. It is an upgraded version of the Creation Engine. They're calling it Creation Engine 2 now. So it is like, again, you got a Ship of Theseus problem with game engines. Or I should say game engines like this, like where they have their in-house engine that they're constantly working on and building and upgrading. You replace parts over time. You might replace most of the code in, a big chunk of it. And so then, is it the same engine? At what point does it become a different engine? If you start with one engine and over time you replace every line of code gradually, bit by bit, until it's a completely different code. There's none of the original code left. Is that a new engine, or is it an upgraded version of the old engine? I mean, really, it gets to the point where it's like, it's about how you define words, and it's so whatever you want to call it, it's Creation Engine 2. You can call it a new engine. You can call it an upgraded version of the old engine. We don't know how much it has been upgraded and worked on. We do have some hints about.
I've heard amazingly good things about the amount of work that they've done on it to increase and make things better. I've obviously, I really honestly quite think that they would be absolutely insane to try and pull things with this, right? Like, it would really be stupid for them to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna promise you this, and then you're gonna get, like, again, you're showing up in Whiterun, there's 15 NPCs around, and it's like, this is the main city. Like, again, however, here's my hope and here's my theory on what the game actually is. So my hope is that they have used in the past, some of their first Elder Scrolls games had a lot of procedural generation. Now, they have had really good tech on this before. It's probably only gotten a whole lot better. Have they used it to kind of flesh things out? I don't know if they have. I'm not sure. But if they have improved a ton of stuff, then I think that, yes, that's a good thing. One of the things that Todd promised years and years and years ago was that, he didn't want to do this game, his next couple of games, until the technology came around for it to happen. That was several years ago. That was coming up on 5 years ago now? Mm-hmm. That was a long time ago. And things have advanced an enormous amount. You look at Ratchet and Clank and you can see what amazing technology they can offer and put into these games. So maybe, let's hope so. And then as far as so here's my theory on the game. After listening to Todd Howard's chatting about it and kind of stuff, I think the human race is basically like they've gone out to the stars, but they've only gone out to the stars to a particular point. And then most people just got distracted with like full dive tech, the thing that who what is it? Elon Musk talks about how the simulation stuff is like simulations are always far more exciting than the real world. The real world is really boring. Like if you're planting plants and you're watching plants grow, that's really boring because it takes weeks and months, sometimes years for them to grow. Like Moon and I were researching asparagus. It takes 3 years for asparagus to start like actually producing. Like 3 years, no asparagus. And then after that time, you get asparagus. It's like, wow, that is insane and crazy. And then every couple of years, you got to like dig everything out and like transfer it and, put new stuff into the soil and stuff like that. Otherwise, it just dies off and you don't get any again. It's like that's so the simulation theory. I think the majority of the humans in the game are suffering from simulation theory or simulation, not simulation theory. That's a different thing altogether. But they're experiencing different things in their lives. So they're set up on these planets. They got their thing going on, and they're not interested in exploring anymore because they got all this fancy tech and they don't need to. And that's what this small group is. This small group of people are actually pushing out there to explore, to discover, to find answers to questions. So yeah, I know Funky is a big meta joke. Funky and I were talking today, and I used a whole bunch of food references like nonstop, and he thought I was high. It was kind of funny. But yeah, no, there's this. The real life is boring, so a lot of these people are not. They're just not interested in exploring anymore. And I think that's kind of what he's been hinting at. A bunch is like they're just kind of like apathetic now, maybe, so that's kind of like my theory on like why isn't like why are these people exploring with really junky ships with like very little stuff, right? Like beat up gear, beat up, the ship looks beat up, like everything looks beat up, like it looks old. But we see these pictures of these like really fancy planets, and they've got lots of cool stuff there. And I think it boils down to the fact that look, we've discovered everything that we need to discover. We're comfortable, so we're not moving out. We're not expanding outward. And I really got that theme as he was talking about it. So that's kind of my theory about the game. And then as far as getting into it, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's anybody's guess at that point. There's tons of stuff though. There's lots of like Easter eggs in the stuff. That star object that we saw is not what we think it was. Was not what the space station looking thing that we saw in the original teaser seems to be kind of at the center part of the story. It seems to be a place or a thing that people are trying to find, and it may or may not be linked to certain disappearances of explorers. And maybe this is why the main character is out there exploring. Maybe they're looking for someone.
You all right there?
No, I had to cough, so I had to mute myself.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my theory on the story is that it's gonna revolve around finding this star formed like space station, trying to find where it is, trying to get to it, trying to understand it. And the majority of the people in the universe aren't interested in getting out there and exploring space. And so it's left to a very, very small group of people who are using antiquated and old technology to explore because there's just not really a point to exploring right now. It's like you got your shipping lanes, you got your cool stuff, that's it. Land grab's over, man. There's nobody going out to islands, setting up new kingdoms. It's like there's no point, there's no need for it. There's too much entertainment to be had at home. Why get on a boat and travel or a ship and travel for a year very dangerously, potentially risking your own life just to like get out there and see something that you could see in a virtual, thing in 5 seconds. So, yeah. So I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting theory. But with that, we're going to wrap the show. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for checking us out today, checking out the podcast, joining us, watching live. If you're watching after the fact, of course, please do leave comments below. Let us know what you thought. And don't forget you can join the live show at this time every week and be part of the discussion. So, yeah, and of course, if you haven't already, please do slam that like button. We'd really appreciate that. It helps to keep this show. It shows us that you appreciate this content, helps with the algorithm, all of that good stuff. Of course, check out the Discord server. You can find the link in the description below. Great community we've got going on. You can talk about all things E3 or anything related to nerdy fandom and nerd fandom adjacent. You can talk about cute animals if you want. There's an animals room. So, yeah, we keep it fun and friendly there. And, of course, you can find links to all of our other stuff, the Patreon, the merch store, everything like that down in the description below as well. Our main channel, the Triple S League, has all kinds of other content. If you're new to us here at the Triple S League, this is our secondary channel. This is the podcast's channel. We do have a main channel, which is much bigger. It has a much wider variety of content, all gaming content. So definitely check it out. And with that, I bid you farewell for this evening. My name is Ash. On behalf of Cyb and Moontag, thank you so much for listening tonight. We'll talk to you again soon.